we're going to do a Ford GT. But we only have 24 months to do a ground-up car.
Because it has to be in time for the Centennial.
Right.
Right.
And we waited a little too long before blah, blah, blah. And so we only have like really 18 months to the Ford Centennial. And we need a ground-up car. And we haven't started.
What's up, folks? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Off the Record. You love Off the Record. How do I know you love Off the Record? Because y'all keep telling me. That's how I know. You guys email me all the time talking about Off the Record. Saved your little backsides over there when you're out being naughty boys and girls on the highway. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about not pleading guilty if you get a ticket of any kind. Any moving violation, you guys know what to do. You guys know what to do. If you get pulled over, offtherecord.com/TST or code TSTPOD on that Off the Record app. They will assign an attorney to fight that ticket for you wherever you are in the country. And if they can't get those points off your record, you don't pay. It's that easy. Only suckers plead guilty. Go to Off the Record and just get it handled. All right, on today's episode of the podcast, my old friend Jamal Hameedi is in studio. This dude is a heavy hitter. Not only is he the head of special projects at Jaguar Land Rover, responsible for such interesting vehicles as the new Sport SV and the all-new Defender Octa, which we'll be talking about today. He's also the man behind such Fords you may have heard of as the Raptor, the GT, both generations of the GT, and pretty much all modern Shelby Mustangs. The dude has had a hell of a career, and he's a super interesting guy with a great story to tell. Jamal Hameedi is in studio today on the Smoking Tire Podcast. Righto. Old friend in the building. First time ever.
First time ever in the studio.
But also first time on the show.
You've
never done radio with us before, right?
Never.
Awesome.
No.
Awesome. A man of many accomplishments.
Don't make me nervous, dude.
Yeah, right. So many of my favorite cars. All the good shit from Ford for the last 10 years, basically. And now the Octa, which I got to see last night and is really neat. It's got your little fingerprints all over it, which is very fun. And it came up on the mountain this morning, which is a good time. And it's just nice to have you here.
Good to be here, man.
I haven't seen you since you moved to England.
Yep.
And how's that?
It's been good. It's been a lot different than Detroit. I like my running joke is I'm the only person ever to move to England for a weather upgrade from Detroit.
And an infrastructure upgrade.
Yeah.
So you have a really important job right now, satisfying enthusiasts, Jaguar and Land Rover needs. Before that, it was Ford Performance, building some really, really interesting cars. But let's go before that. Let's go like 20, 25 years ago. What was the dream? Is this the dream?
So I've never had a destination.
Okay.
It's weird. People come in and like ask for, career advice or and I'm like, I am not the person you want to talk to because for my whole career, I've never had a career plan. And I've judged.
No mood board?
No mood board.
Yeah.
No, in 5 years, I want to be doing this or any of that. Mm-hmm. Every job has been based on the amount of fun I think I could have in it.
I mean, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
What was before Ford Performance?
So before Ford Performance, I was working in powertrain as an off-road racing engineer and doing calibration.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was it always at Ford up until recently?
Right out of school. Right out of school.
And what did you study?
Electrical engineering.
Oh, you started with electrical.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And where did you study?
At a school in St. Louis called Washington University in St. Louis.
Okay.
WashU.
And did they have an automotive program, or was it
No,
just
they
general?
were making people they were making engineers to head out to Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Which
and
is
you were like, I'm going to Detroit.
I'm
they're
going
like,
to Detroit.
what the fuck
Yeah.
is wrong with you?
Yeah. So a weird, this is a little bit of a rabbit hole and tangent, but we built a natural gas powered truck as a SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers project, and me and two other guys. And one of the dudes, really smart guy, and he was 1 year under us, and used to talk about being an astronaut all the time. And like we would like, yeah, you know, so did we at 10 years old. Like you're grown up now.
Yeah,
like,
if you're
give it
not
up.
on astronaut track by 21,
Right.
like probably
just
not going to happen. Yeah.
Stop with the astronaut stuff, okay?
Yeah.
And whatever, didn't really think anything of it. And so then, like during COVID, you know, I'm just surfing the internet, whatever, and there's a SpaceX Crew Dragon thing going up, their first crewed, and it's like, man, that guy looks familiar.
Whoa.
And he got it. He got it.
And I was like, wow, his name's Bob too. That's a coincidence. and I'm like, there is no, you know, way. So I start Googling. I'm like, holy shit, Bob became an astronaut.
Yeah.
He'd been up in the space shuttle, everything. Like he
did it.
He's like one of America's, Bob Behnken, one of the, you know, leading American astronauts.
Oh,
now.
cool.
Wow.
All right. And so you were building natural gas trucks with this guy.
So now I feel guilty about giving him shit about being an astronaut.
Maybe if you didn't give him shit, he wouldn't have pressed it so hard and he wouldn't have made it.
He said, I'll show you.
I'll show you.
And he's going to put a
Chip
space
on my
laser on the moon.
shoulder.
So you're
and aim it at
building
you.
some of the best cars in the world. He's an astronaut. And what's that third guy doing?
Oh, he's got a family in Phoenix.
Okay.
Hi, Sean. How you doing, buddy?
All right. I was going to say, meth? I don't know. But, did you do like SAE racing, like the, what do you call it?
Formula SAE.
Yeah, Formula SAE.
No, we so we were doing these student design competitions that kind of that was the precursor to Formula SAE, which was, you know, one was a methanol powered Corsica. I'm dating myself here.
Yeah.
And then we built
A Chevy Corsica?
A Chevy Corsica. And then we built a lean burn, twin turbo, natural gas powered Silverado pickup truck.
What is a lean burn? I've never heard. I mean, I know what a lean running engine is, but
Yeah.
I've never heard that used
So a lean
intentionally.
burn is so if you think, you know, like air fuel ratio is lambda 1. And if you have more fuel, it's rich. If you have less fuel, it's lean.
Right.
And so the problem with running lean is the power density goes down and your NOx.
Asshole, I'm sorry.
Your NOx emissions go way up. But if you go super lean, they start coming back down. So there was a moment in time where there was a theory of a ultra lean burn engine, and then you high compression it and you twin turbo it to recover your power density.
Oh, did it work?
So, it drove really well, but we failed our emissions. Yeah.
That's usually the case.
Yeah.
I can think of many examples where it drives great.
It was fun. I mean, stuff like that, you learn so much practical engineering. I learned more building that truck than really in just about any class I did.
And you built a natural gas off-road truck?
No, this was like it was a plain Jane, bare bones Silverado.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was the lean burn one.
That was the
natural
lean burn,
gas.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it based on a production engine? I mean, can you just like convert that to natural gas?
It was a Chevy 305.
Yeah.
Heavily reworked.
What do you have
Super
to
high
do? What do you have to
compression.
do to an engine to make it run natural gas at all?
Rip the fuel injection system out and put a natural gas fuel system. So you'll have, you know, these big tanks filled with kind of like what
like
they
propane,
like an
right?
LPG truck these days.
Yeah.
And
Our
and then you have,
buses in LA are all on that stuff. Yeah. Cool. That's fun. And what was your first job at Ford?
First job at Ford, this was amazing. It was a calibrator.
Okay.
So I walk in, and I've been a car freak since I was a kid. Walk in the doors, and they give you basically a laptop and a $500,000 prototype. And they're like, use that laptop to tune that car. Tell us come back when you're done.
Okay.
There's the test track.
Whoa.
You're driving and programming.
Yeah.
And you're tuning it for smoothness?
So I started in transmissions before
Okay.
engines. So we were doing automatic transmissions, smooth shifts.
And this was in like the 90s?
I mean, it was 2 years ago. Come on, man. No, it was 91 is when I started at Ford.
So you're doing Tauruses, column
I
shift.
did Crown Vics.
Yes.
Crown Vics and town cars.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they were smooth. They did shift smooth.
Funny enough, I used to
Actually, they did.
This was a sign of things to come because we would go and off-road these Crown Vics up in the hills of Sedona. It's a lot of fun.
As part
engineers?
of like official engineering protocol?
Normal engineering regimen.
Durability
Is that
testing?
that's how you determine the police packages? By taking them off.
Worked on police packages too.
Yeah.
Is that why those cars were so durable, or was it just luck that they were? And you went, wow, we can just do anything with these. We can go off-roading and
I
they're
mean, you
fine.
could do anything in those cars. They were super durable.
Yeah.
I mean, they were. Let's say they were proven technology.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, yeah. In the 70s,
The frame is from the 70s,
They
I think.
continued to work, but all right. So calibrating transmissions. Okay.
Yep.
And then what was the upgrade from that?
Then went into engines. So did a little bit of engine calibration, and then it was funny because you are given the control system that you have to tune. And so any calibrator wants more knobs to turn. And so it was always the calibrator's way of complaining about the control system and the software. So then, finally someone woke up and said, like, stop your complaining. You're writing code now. So I went upstream and started developing control systems, embedded control systems.
Okay.
Writing C code.
And when did the cars get fun?
So then, between calibrating and writing the control system, my boss comes to me and has like, hey, we got this Baja program where we sponsored
You don't have to
a
get
trophy
super
truck.
close. I just wanted a little closer. Go ahead. Yeah.
We sponsored a trophy truck, and so, we gave him data logging, an engine, a transmission. And he's like, you want to work on that? I'm like, of course I want to work on that.
Yeah.
And
race cars. This is
race cars.
Yes.
Off-road trucks, trophy trucks. So that was like 1998. I went to my first off-road Baja race.
Cool.
And
Was this like a tube frame trophy truck, or was it like an F-150 based?
no, it was a full-on tube frame.
Okay.
It was a center seat,
Oh, cool.
Whoa.
single, no navigator.
Whoa.
And the driver basically straddled the transmission bell housing.
Yeehaw.
Accelerator on one side, brake
like
on the other.
Indy in the 40s. Like,
Yeah.
That's
and
crazy.
And then it was a 5.4 liter modular V8. Actually 5.8, and 8-to-1 header.
Oh, wow. Bundle of snakes.
Bundle of snakes. Sounded like an Indy car.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
5.8 would have been a 351, right?
Yeah. Well, it was a bored out 5.4 liter.
Okay.
So double overhead cam, 4-valve per cylinder.
cool.
Barrel throttles, the whole.
Oh, so it was sort of like the Shelby motor.
It was the predecessor of actually that engine. Believe it or not, they called them the Rough Rider heads.
Yeah.
Actually made their way into the design of those high flow cylinder heads made their way into not only like Cobra R Mustangs but also Ford GT.
And Lightning, too, right?
And
the Lightning get it?
Lightning was a 351.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
No,
So that
the,
was a
the, the
push
second
rod,
gen
the
Lightning.
second
The
gen.
one with, there was a 351?
There was first gen was 351.
Right. Those are kind of cool, actually.
Those are cool.
I
They
like
look
I
cool.
like a first
They
gen
look
Lightning.
old school but
Yeah.
sporty.
Is
Was
this
it
it?
this?
Is that center seat?
That is my old racing truck.
That is pretty cool, actually.
Wow, look at this exhaust coming right out the fender.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Don't stand
an
over there.
8-1 collector.
Damn, that's
That
cool.
must have sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, don't stand in front of that thing. You see our little right above the Duralast sign is our Ford powertrain sticker right there.
I can't see it because it's covered in filth.
Yep,
But
as
I
a
believe
trophy
you that
truck
it's there.
should be.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Okay, how did that truck do?
Good. We won 3 Baja 1000s.
Oh, wow. I would say that's good.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
we over 1 year in the turn of the century they did a Baja 2000. And
Whoever came up with that marketing,
Yep.
very smart.
Salfish, thank you, good idea.
Very smart, yeah.
And we overhauled the Baja 2000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You
Pretty
you
epic.
did a good job at your job, and the truck worked, and everyone else did a good job on the
It
team.
didn't always work, and when it didn't always work, they'd throw me in there and say, "Fix your electronics, dude."
We miss carburetors.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's real cool. Okay, so so you're very successful at Baja. Then what?
Then they were like, "We're gonna do a Ford GT."
Folks, got to take one quick break because today we are supported by Factor. Listen, warmer, sunnier days are calling, and fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Whether it's time to meet your wellness goals for summer or just save time, save money, and eating right with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto, you know Factor. Their fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. So what are you waiting for? There's 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, so you'll always have new flavors to explore. You can make your whole day delicious from breakfast to dessert, and every meal has easy, nutritious options. Plus, keep your kitchen time to a minimum because Factor meals are ready in just 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleanup. Head over to factormeals.com/tire50 and use code TIRE50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code TIRE50 at factormeals.com/tire50 to get 50% off your first box and then 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. And thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's episode.
We're gonna do a Ford GT, but we only have 24 months to do a ground-up car.
Because it has to be in time for the
Centennial, right.
Right.
And we waited a little too long before blah, blah, blah. And so we only have like really 18 months to the Ford Centennial. And we need a ground-up car. And we haven't started. We have a concept car. And so the only people...
Did Camillo do the concept car? So
Yeah.
you had the aesthetic.
we have the A surface.
Yeah.
But you kind of need more than that, right?
Sure.
And
some say.
Yeah.
Some say you don't.
yeah.
Have you seen a Cybertruck? You don't.
So what they basically did was they took people with racing backgrounds, either engineers that were working in the racing teams, because we were doing Formula One with the Benetton in those days as well, or like these off-road race, or even we had a bunch of guys that would just do hobby racing, with their own cars on the weekends. So it was basically racers were the only engineers crazy enough to sign up to that kind of a task.
Well, so what was the skill set about racers that made them perfect or the best ones for this project?
So this is I espouse this today to new engineers is what I call like motorsports mentality is the day of the race never changes. So you can't be late. The concept of I need more time is an alien concept in motorsports. You do unnatural things to get your car on the grid on race day.
What did I tell you about the table? Remember?
Yeah.
I was like, people talk like this, and you're like, what?
Oh,
And
that's
then
me.
and then
I'm that guy.
You just did it.
Everyone's that guy.
Everyone
Yeah.
does. Everyone
Okay.
does. No one ever thinks about
Yeah.
it. But that's what the sign is for.
Okay.
But yeah, the race day never changes.
So that's you don't focus on doing the same thing. You focus on the result, which is I need to get not only the car to the grid, but I need to have the fastest car on the grid on the day of the race. And so you don't focus on the process that you're supposed to execute. You focus on the end result, and you change the process in order to get the end result. And that's racing mentality.
And what you told me, this must have been years ago at this point, about GT was that shortened timeline meant no time for break it, fix it, break it, fix it, break it, fix it, so that everything had to be overbuilt,
Yeah.
multiples of what it actually needed, which then resulted in a car that was unbelievably strong that could, later they found out you could run 1,500 horsepower through a stock block and a stock gearbox and stuff like that. And they became these standing mile cars because they were stable beyond their top speed and et cetera, right?
Yeah. So I would call that first principles design, where everything you do properly and by the book and with safety factor. And so that is kind of first principles design. And because you don't have time to fail something, redesign, and retest it. So yeah, we basically threw everything at every part in that car, and we got a pretty good result.
Yeah, it's the best car ever. It is. I love that car. It is the best car. It's the best driving car of that era for sure. Except maybe Carrera GT, which was
It was right at the same time.
7 times the price.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then from there, it was sort of backwards to Mustangs, right?
I mean, it wasn't
not backwards, but
well, it was when we finished Ford GT. It was like I found home. This is what I want to do. Like, there's no way after doing a Ford GT, I'm going to go and work on a minivan,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
And really, the whole team was pretty much like that, where we stayed in the performance arena, and then that's what we were doing. Mustangs then. We were doing a GT 500, so we all flipped over to those programs, what was SVT at the time.
Yeah. Why do you think it was why do you think they didn't either evolve the first gen GT or come up with a second gen GT earlier? Because we were talking in the car on the way over here that they sold out. You said they built the right number of them. They did sell. They weren't the sort of known hit that they are now. But was it not successful enough to justify doing it again? Or was it always intended to be this sort of one and done special?
It was a one and done. We had some ideas of doing follow-on cars like Cobras and
GT90?
no, GT90 was before that.
Oh,
yeah, but there was a thought to do kind of a new version of a open Cobra.
Oh yeah, Bo's got it. Bo has the concept. Yeah. That thing was pretty cool.
There was a thing called the GR1, which was a
Yeah.
modern Daytona.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was super cool.
Yeah.
But we couldn't get kind of the support to do those cars.
Do you think those cars would have, benefit of hindsight, do you think those cars would have been successful if they were able to come to market sort of uncompromised in the way the GT was?
100% they would have been. I mean, the key is to not keep building GTs.
Right.
And overbuild, right? So it was great
Oh,
that we
yeah,
built 4,000 GTs and then stopped, and now they're a thing, and there's only 4,038 of them. So
There's probably less. Some have gotten crashed.
Yeah, there was
Unfortunately, some have been crashed. They're very safe in a crash, but that happens.
yeah.
Right at the beginning of when it starts to rain, they are fucking hairy, them cars.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely analog car.
Yeah.
No ESP or, yaw control.
Which is part of its charm. Yeah.
They look amazing.
Yeah.
They sound amazing. I
they've
mean, they
aged
are
really
soup
well.
to nuts.
Yeah.
So gorgeous and fast and exciting.
We got to talk. They're hard to get tires for now, though.
Yeah.
We got to.
That was a thing where Goodyear stopped making tires for that. And
Yeah.
the whole crowd kind of switched, I think, to Enzo tires for a while.
Yeah, but
And-
they actually, most of them run mismatched now because there's not one company that makes both fronts and rears, and which I don't love. Like, I really would love Michelin to start making tires for those cars.
Yeah.
Like, Pirelli just started making Countach and Diablo tires again very recently because people were like, I'd like to drive this, please.
Right.
It's not that hard. Like, the mold is on the wall. Like,
Yeah.
just pull that fucking shit down.
Well, I mean, that's a tire company's business model is not the OE fitment, it's the aftermarket sales.
Right.
It's like give the razor away so you can sell the refills.
Right, but like you got to do shit to make the enthusiasts
Yeah,
happy.
absolutely.
We market your products.
Absolutely.
You can put fucking P0 white wall on the side of a Countach tire if you want. I'll as long as it fits, let's go.
Yeah.
Did you find GT's a ground up program, right? Do whatever you want other than make it look like Camilla wanted it to look, which it does. With Mustang, you're starting with a car that at the time was available as a $19,000, car that with a V6 and an automatic and whatever, you could rent one at Hertz for $50 a day. So now it's make the best car you can make, but you got to start with this.
Yeah.
So how does that challenge differ from, blank slate, but short timeline?
Rule number 1, take small engine out, put big engine in.
Sure.
And I mean, that's the formula. It's amazing. It's not a new formula.
It's been working for many,
It's
many years.
Many decades, right? And it's
Yeah.
still working to
Yeah.
this day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not rocket science.
Just giant engine,
Big engine,
better gearbox. And
gearbox that can handle the torque, and
were those Mustangs designed for that? I mean, when Ford released whatever it was, the S197 or whatever fucking Mustang it was, were they like, hey, and by the way, there's going to be a 550 horsepower version of this, so prepare now?
we had to do a lot of changes to the body in white with that first GT500 to get it to pass our durability. So yeah, that was that's kind of this philosophical debate of platform engineering in the automotive industry, is that in an ideal world, you want to design the platform to encompass the full bandwidth of all the applications that come off that platform.
Porsche does this quite well.
Porsche does this quite well, and Volkswagen does it, quite well. Where the downside to that is that there's cost and weight in every entry-level car to carry the bandwidth of that very expensive, high-powered car. So oftentimes it becomes a business trade-off, and there's some times where it makes sense to encompass the bandwidth, and it's not too expensive, and other times it's draconian penalties on an entry-level car that you wouldn't do that. So you got to have the performance team add that on when they launch their car.
And that obviously spreads the gap in price between the basic car and the high, right?
Yeah.
So you end up with a much more drastic, to go from a Volkswagen Golf to a GTI to a Golf R versus a V6 Mustang to a GT to a 500 is a big, big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so when it came to the second gen GT, the philosophy was much different from the first gen, right? It's a homologation race car. It's not a road car first, right?
It was, we need a road car and a racing car.
Because the first gen GT was not a particularly good racing car, but it was never really designed to be.
Yeah, it was a completely 100% road car. And there was some, I think companies like Maytech tried to go racing with it, but yeah, it was 100% a road car.
Yeah. The race cars looked really cool,
That's super
but they were
cool,
not
yeah.
great race cars because they're supposed to win, and they didn't. But
I mean, and you're a privateer team
Sure.
racing against factory teams, and that's never going to end well.
right. But the second gen car, I mean, when I drove this, I was like, okay, this is obviously a race car first and a street car second. Did the development of the race car start first and then you worked your way backwards to street, or was it totally parallel?
Totally parallel because, again, we were late in starting, and we had a 50th anniversary race to get to.
Oh, 50th anniversary of Le Mans.
Of the
Le Mans
GT40.
66, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 66,
Yeah.
66 was it
66.
Yeah. And so were there new challenges, or was it just kind of the same old challenges as, 10 years before, but now you actually did have to get to the race
Yeah, I mean,
instead
actually,
of just the party?
believe it or not, we had more time
Mm-hmm.
on this one, on the second GT. It was a full carbon car, so that was a challenge. But it was cool because we made no trade-offs that would really hurt the racing car. Mm-hmm. So the racing car truly was always in our mind in major like architectural decisions, and some of the changes or some of the architectural design, like a fixed seat so that we could shrink ramp the greenhouse so we could get the frontal area down. That was all Le Mans driven.
Mm-hmm. Some people, big criticism of that car when it came out, obviously 6 cylinders, not 8. Maybe it doesn't sound so good. Still effective, went fast. But was there internal debate about that, or was it purely packaging based on the pass-throughs and the buttresses and stuff, and it was like, V8s won't fit, guys, sorry?
There was an epic debate around that, as you would expect, right? As there should be an epic debate around something like that. But really, it was if we didn't have a racing V8, and so but we did have a racing V6.
What else was it being used in?
It was used in Daytona prototypes.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
And so that was on the shelf, ready to go, and it had proven durability. It was a known entity. Mm-hmm. And so, from a risk mitigation, it was either you can choose to invent a new V8 racing engine, and, oh, by the way, you have to win on your first time because that's the anniversary.
Right.
Or you can use this known technology. It packages better. It's lighter. It's got a lower CG. It's got better fuel economy.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, as a
When
racer.
you put it like that,
when
yeah.
you're building a race car, how it sounds is second, or not even the top 5 things,
Yeah.
probably. Maybe not even the top 10.
The sound of champagne is all you care about.
Yeah. I mean, look, the car goes really fast, and to me, it doesn't sound bad. Like, would it sound better if it had a 350R fucking engine in it? Yeah, probably. Probably would. That engine sounds great, but
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't fit, right?
I don't think it would. Would it have? Were there ever prototypes made with V8s in them?
No, we never. We
No one
did
ever
a paper
shoved
study.
No one ever did a Shelby motor into some kind of prototype chassis or something?
No, that was no.
Yeah. All right. I'm just saying, there's probably something in the junkyard back there behind
Yeah.
the fucking shed. There's got to be something laying around, like an Ultima, prototype car. Like Gordon Murray buys these Ultimas and turns them into prototypes.
Yeah.
The I listen. When I said you were coming on, someone was like, "Ask him why they didn't do the V8." So okay, gotta ask you. So that you did win.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Which first time out at Le Mans, is quite a feat.
Yeah. But what kind of, was there a lot of like endurance testing done on that car to ensure that that would produce the result that you want?
Absolutely.
Did you run like synthetic Le Mans, like we run 24-hour races?
Yeah.
Where do you do that?
In a dyno wing at Ford.
Oh.
Actually, in the same building that the old 60s engines were tested on.
Oh, you did it on an engine dyno?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Does it like move? It moves the engine for the G-forces, or just fixed?
No, it just runs the speed history,
Okay.
RPM trace.
Is the street car engine extremely closely related to the race car engine?
It's close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's got the basic architecture of the racing engine.
Mm-hmm. But obviously, it has to run on regular gas and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean
sound requirements and whatever.
And then you have BOP, balance of performance. So that was
Meaning streetability? Is that what that means?
no, meaning they will equalize all the racing cars
Oh.
to get to a nominal performance level. So you don't have something like a homologation special with barely any frontal area showing up to the race and decimating everyone.
It keeps the race a little bit more even.
What you're trying to say is that the street cars make more power.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So at Le Mans, I think we were racing at around 500 horsepower.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's common in IMSA too, you know, especially like the M6s and stuff.
Yeah,
They turn those down a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So let's talk about Land Rover and Jaguar, because you're over there now.
Yep.
Fucking traitor, redcoats. No. And you've got sort of this new strategy about what to do with first Land Rovers. We'll see Jaguars later, and you brought this Octa thing, which I saw yesterday in a building in Culver City. It's pretty cool. It's definitely got a lot of Jamal in it, because we skipped right over Raptor, and you sold me on Raptor before I ever drove one, by the way, because when we went drinking at 60 Thompson in 2008 in New York City, you were like, I got to show you this thing.
After the official launch of the car.
Yeah.
Of course,
Definitely.
of course.
Absolutely.
After
Yep.
the official launch of the car, you pulled out your phone and you showed me this orange truck.
That was on the internet already by
Already
then.
on the internet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was clearly, you pulled it up off of YouTube. You found it on the Smoking Tires YouTube channel, and you're like, have you seen this thing?
Well, you hadn't heard of it because you were in New York. You were in a truck
I was
person.
somewhere else.
You were in a truck
I was
person.
somewhere else, but I was like, I would like one of those, please, and bought one, and it was very good. And that defined a class of vehicle now, the Baja ready truck,
Yeah.
which is pretty fucking awesome. What made you think at the time, back in 2007, 8, that what the world needed was street legal trophy trucks?
Well, okay, so you got to tell that story. You have to rewind to trophy truck off-road racing, and they had these things all over called pre-runners, and these things were not jacked up. They were low to the ground. They were wide, with fiberglass fenders, wide bodies and everything. And it's like, where have these things been all my life, and how come I've never seen one before?
Meanwhile, OEMs are building like street pickup trucks. You had the Lightning,
like
you had
on-road.
the SS. They were really road and drag strip focused trucks.
Yeah, so it was basically taking a truck, trying to make it into a sports car, instead of taking a truck and doing what it does, which is go off-road.
Yeah, and so the Raptor was like pretty revolutionary in terms of like leaning into a truckness.
Yeah.
It was so. It's weird that nobody did that before.
It is
very few. I mean, really. I mean, there was like there was the Z71s and this and that, but like no one had really put that together.
Yeah.
Was
and
part of that because of technology at the time, with like shocks and things had advanced to where you could get suppliers and then it was cost effective for you? Like in the 90s, was off-road suspension available but so expensive it wouldn't have made sense, or is it something else?
it was really the performance community in Detroit were all on-road racers. They were track guys. And that was just what they knew. And all the off-road racers were in Southern California. And they weren't working for Ford, GM, or Chrysler.
Wow.
So, like, when I was, when I walk in the room, I'm like, good news, guys. We're going to do an off-road truck. Everyone's like, no, we're not. We're not doing that. We do on-road, street trucks. And so literally no one wanted to do an off-road, Raptor. Everyone wanted to do a Lightning. That's what we did. We do Lightnings. We don't do off-road trucks. And so there was me and another guy, Gene, Gene got it immediately.
I remember Gene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were like the two kind of cross bearers in the beginning. And then we started like sending engineers out to off-road races. And pretty soon, like everyone like just fell in love with the idea. Well, except the bean counters. Because this was 2008, recession, car companies going bankrupt, gas going through the roof. So yeah, there was a bunch of times the program actually was canceled. But like every time it was canceled, we'd like redo it a little bit and take away that thing, the reason it was canceled, and come back. And so, yeah, we just barely got it to production.
Yeah, and it's A, it defined the genre. B, other than GT and maybe some Shelbys, Raptors have like the best resale value of any Ford that you could buy.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, I think a first-gen Raptor is still $35,000 to $40,000.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
It was interesting because we built the business case on a certain volume, and this is when it's just on paper. And then you go into the studio and it becomes a full-size clay model, and then people see it and they see how cool it is, and they're like, oh, we can sell more of those. And so the volumes, they just kept on growing and growing. When the dealers came in to see it, it grew again. When we did the media drive, it grew again, and we sold more Raptors in the fourth year of that first gen than we did the first year, which is unheard of.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. But you also added the bigger engine. You added quad cab. Yeah. So that it does make sense that there were more variants and whatever but is that normally not normally it's like the first year and then it sort of
it's always tails off. You launch, it's a new thing, it's the new shiny thing, and your first, second year volumes are usually your highest, and then it kind of starts waning down, and then you do a mid-cycle fresh to kick it back up, and then it kind of, so it's like this decaying curve. But like a Raptors was just
that's cool.
Always climbing.
I loved my truck. I mean, I talk about it all the time. Like it was more than I needed. Who fucking needs a giant truck, especially for just like driving around? But it was very charming, and people liked it. And on the times I did take it off-road, which was not a lot, but it was really good at that. One of the best drives I ever had was when I was driving to Arizona or back from Arizona for a gig with my friend Thaddeus, and the 10 freeway was dead stopped, and I just turned off into the dirt and drove 35, 40 miles in the dirt at like 60 miles an hour, and was like, hi, to just everyone just stopped there. And I was like, oh, this is what this is for. This is for this exact activity.
Yeah. It's funny because, we always said this was a truck for the off-road racers, and that was kind of our demographic and who we designed the truck for. And so it turns out that it's really good in the snow too, in deep snow. Those big 35-inch tires just cut through deep snow. Who really loves Raptors are farmers. Because farmers have to go long distances, and it's often not paved.
Right. Yeah.
And if you can drive off-road as fast as you can a paved road, that
For sure, because if you're
That
in an
is-
F-250 or any, let's say, traditional ranch truck, the suspension is usually really stiff to have a heavy load. And we drive them around town sometimes, and it's
Yeah.
stiff. Imagine doing that for 8 or 16 miles on a dirt road.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
would suck.
Your head would fall
to
off.
carry 40 or 50 miles an hour down a dirt road.
Yeah.
That's time is money, baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can drive 60, 70 miles an hour off-road like you had a paved driveway or a paved road to get to a piece of land.
That's a good thought. There's a practical purpose for a Raptor.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, we liked Bronco Raptor a lot, too.
Yeah.
That was a fun truck. But you brought. I had to rewind it to Raptor because the new Defender Octa is kind of the Defender Raptor, kind of. It's got Raptor vibes.
It wants to do some of the same stuff, but it does it very differently.
Okay, so what is this the first vehicle for Land Rover that is all Jamal?
No. We when I came, my first car that I worked on, kind of from the start, was the mid-cycle fresh of the Pace SVR.
Oh, okay. We drove that. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah,
Very loud.
very loud,
Yeah.
but not as loud because we added a Jeep gas particulate filter. And, yeah.
Did we get that in America too? Was it just for
no,
the U.S.?
that was Europe.
Yeah, ours was still loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really the first car, and then I did a Range Rover SV. Mm-hmm. So that's the big, full-size Range Rover, very luxury focused. Then did the Sport SV, and now the Defender Octa.
And the Sport SV is the one with the carbon wheels.
The carbon wheels, carbon
Yeah.
brakes, 635 PS. Yep.
And so differences between, starting with a Mustang and building a Shelby,
Yeah.
and starting with a Range Rover and building something very high performance. You said before it's different, before we did the show, it's different when you're starting from an expensive vehicle versus
Yeah.
starting from a very affordable vehicle.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff, or did you go, we need a Range Rover with carbon wheels? This is what we need?
We did because we were we were trying to get every little ounce of performance out of the car, and we had an engine that was really good that was in partnership with BMW, and but there were the performance cars are a lot of times it's about the last 10%, not the first 90. And the last 10% is the really cool stuff. And it's the stuff that maybe you won't see on every other car. And so, we were just trying to put uniqueness into that car and as much technology as we could find to maximize the bandwidth of the car. So carbon brakes, carbon wheels, a fully hydraulic 6D suspension went in. I mean, even non-performance things like vibroacoustic therapy seats, where we
Those
have
are
those body
fun.
and
We played
soul
with
seats.
these on the Octa last night. They're like massage seats, but it's sort of like having a subwoofer in the seat. What is that? Is there a better way to describe it than that?
It's a some other car companies do seat shakers. These are not seat shakers. They are transducers. And actually there's a company in California and Canada called Subpack, and they started making wearables. And these things now, music producers wear them when they produce music in the recording studio to lay down all their low frequency tracks, because it gives you this intimacy with low frequency that you never get through the ear.
Oh, wow. And then they do that so that they Are they trying to feel what the audience would feel in front of large speakers because they won't get that in the headphones?
They're trying to produce the bass track, and they will know exactly what the bass track is laying down.
Okay.
And so it really
You actually feel music.
that's their tagline is feel the music.
Oh, well, you do.
You do.
You do feel the music.
Yeah.
It's funky.
Cool.
It's different. Yeah. And there's a massage function in there as well, but it's like they demoed it and like, yeah, you feel music.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Without blowing your ears out.
Right.
Yeah, it
you're not
wasn't.
doing
It was
it
not
through-
super loud.
Right.
Right. I suppose to get that level of feel through your ears, you need like mega power
Mega power.
and mega volume.
mega volume, and
neither
you're
of that.
rattling the car to
The
death.
old rattling license plate. You
Yeah.
got to put the sponge behind the license plate. That's
Felt
the move.
tape, yeah.
Yeah, that's the move.
So that was, that was really cool. That was kind of a pet project that I kind of championed because everyone thought, including me, when I first heard the idea of, hey, we should do this on a car seat, I was like, we are not doing that. Absolutely not. And then 2019 auto show, I was in LA and I came to a studio in Venice Beach with Subpack, and they put me in this. It was a Corbusier chair that they had wired with like 23 transducers. It looked like an electric chair. And they're like, have a seat. I'm like, I'm not sitting in that. And so anyway, they put me in there, and it was a mind-blowing. It felt like you were inside an instrument.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah. It was really cool. And when they use those, I didn't ask this question, but for a long time, the Range Rover like Meridian stereos was like amazing, and they're just adding speakers. The last one I was in was like 29 speakers or something. Can they take away some of the speakers when they do the seats? Do they go back down to like 16 or something?
Well, the big thing, that is an opportunity is that now you can start looking at removing subwoofers.
Mm-hmm.
So subwoofers they're super big, super heavy, and so when you don't need that, if you can get the bass experience through your body versus through your ears, then that's an opportunity in the future.
Are they in the back seats too?
Just in the front seats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the kids in the back miss out on some bass, but yeah, they are really, really cool. It was really interesting to demo them last night. I've not seen anything like that in a car.
And the other thing we did was, we can start administering, they call it vibroacoustic therapy. So pumping low-frequency energy into human body is a thing for therapeutic effect. And you can regulate heart rate with it. And so we actually did a clinical study with Coventry University where we did a control model, no massage, basically nothing. We had them drive around a ring road in Coventry, and then we turned the vibroacoustic therapy through these seats on, and measuring their like skin reluctance temperature and their heart rate variability, and like we showed that we can lower a person's stress in heavy traffic kind of scenarios by pumping low frequency energy into the human body.
Have you done it compared to a traditional massage seat that has the
We did,
inflatable,
yeah.
and
So-
it's better than
and
that?
massage helps versus nothing, and like vibroacoustic therapy helps beyond what a.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool, and so like the whole idea of get in your car after a day at the office when you just like had enough, and turn on vibroacoustic therapy, and like it will literally lower your stress, biologically lower your stress level, which is
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I like that.
yeah.
And okay, so the Octa does have that.
That was a rabbit hole. Yeah.
No, but it's rad. That's really cool. So you did these really fast Range Rovers, right?
Yep.
The SVs. And then presumably somebody said, okay, now we're going to do a really fast Defender, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So what are we going to do on a Defender?
So what are you doing? I mean, but does a Defender need to be really fast? Is that what people are buying Defenders for? Or what did you think that the customer would really want out of a Defender?
Yeah, so, well, I guess the one thing that we approach how we develop a car is we try to stay true to the car's origin. So, like, for example, a full-size Range Rover SV, we don't try to make that into a performance car. We try to amplify the luxury because a full-size Range Rover is about a luxurious experience. Mm-hmm. So, and we're a sport, we do amplify the performance because that's a sport.
Yeah.
So a Defender, if you think, what is a Defender? A Defender is famous for its off-road capability. So how do you expand the off-road capability of a Defender? But then also, and this is kind of unique to the Octa, is that when you get into these very focused off-road vehicles, that focus often comes with a trade-off. And the Defender is really good at doing everything.
Yeah.
On-road,
we just had the
off-road.
new Lexus GX, which is a really good off-road vehicle, but it's like body on frame, and so it's like kind of shitty to drive on the road.
Yeah.
Whereas the Defender that we drove last year or whatever it was equally capable off-road, but had much better dynamics on the road.
Yeah, so four-wheel independent suspension,
Yeah.
unibody, the chassis stiffness is off the chart. So the question is, so this was the challenge with Octa, could we expand the off-road capability with no compromise on-road? And so everything we did was driven around trying to expand the capability off-road, but no compromise on-road.
Did that happen with Raptor also?
In Raptor days, we were focused on off-road.
But I think it in
It's
many
quite
ways
good
it was
on-road.
It was better on road than a regular F-150 in some ways too, right? Or at least wasn't worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so driving off-road and driving on-road are such different things. How do you do that?
Well, so you add bigger tires, but you don't add massively bigger tires.
Okay.
If your tire isn't durable enough, we actually ended up inventing a new tire because the whole story was instead of using like an 18-inch rim to get a lot of sidewall, we couldn't use an 18-inch rim because we have 635 PS. This car goes down the Autobahn at 155 miles an hour. We need a set of brakes, and our brakes fit a 20-inch wheel. Mm-hmm. So now how do you play off the trade-off of a proper brake package with puncture resistance driven by that 20-inch wheel? And so that was where we worked with Goodyear to develop a brand new clean sheet tire, not just construction and compound and things like that. This was a brand new ground-up tire.
Okay. And regarding this, so it's wider, 7 centimeters wider, is that right, than a regular Defender?
Yeah, 70 centimeters wider.
70 centimeters.
Yeah.
70 centimeters? 70 millimeters wider.
70 millimeters.
Sorry,
excuse me.
okay.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to do that. Someone was telling me about the suspension the other day, and they said something like it was, 30 centimeters taller. And I was like, it's 30 centimeters taller?
Yeah.
Millimeters. Okay, yeah. So it's got these fender flares, but not all the width is from the tires, right? The everything is pushed out a little bit.
Yeah, none of the width really is from the tires.
Right.
It's all from new corner modules, which are pushed out to fit the 33-inch tires and the longer travel, slightly longer travel. But the car is barely lifted. And so, again, we wanted this car to be drivable in London or in Milan or in Paris. So you can't go super wide.
Right.
You can't go super tall. or else you won't be able to
You won't
park
fit
it.
in the garages.
You
yeah.
won't fit in the garages. So that's where air springs are a game changer, where, like in our off-road 2 setting, we can get like 42 degrees of approach departure angle,
Whoa.
which is like a
lot.
4x4 squared
Yeah.
kind of a number, portal axle
Yeah.
kind of a number. But then you can put it down to access height and park in a parking garage.
So it's an air spring and a hydraulic shock.
And interconnected system as well. So every
So it's every possible technology. that
every
you could-
damper talks to every other damper
Okay.
hydraulically.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Like McLaren, kind of like they're all linked?
Yes.
Okay.
We have kind of another step beyond what McLaren uses because we add another hydraulic valve body, which allows us to laterally link the cross link, so we can control pitch independent of roll.
Oh, okay. So I've experienced
You
hydraulic
guys'
suspension.
eyes are glossing over like,
No.
Well,
what
no,
is
it-
this guy talking
no,
about?
I'm amazed.
It's just
I'm
a lot.
amazed.
But like I was trying to say, like I've driven it in a performance setting on Panamera and Taycan,
Yeah.
right? The hydraulic setup, and I've driven it in a luxury focused setting on Maybach GLS. But I've never tried it in an off-road focused setting. So what does that whole system get you off-road?
It's funny, the first time we had the first car on the test track and it was running, D-Space board with an iPad, prototype totally. And I was like, okay, drop all the pressures. And so heave, pitch, roll, no support. And this thing literally felt like the trophy truck that we used to race. And I was like, I have not felt this soft an experience since then. And I was like, that's exactly. And then go to full firm, and it felt like you took all the springs and dampers out of the car. And it was that firm. So that was like 2 massive book points,
Yeah.
bookends of the technology.
Is it, when we're talking about off-road, I mean, in this image that we've got on the screen, it looks like you're going quickly up a gravel road like one might do in a Raptor. Is that the goal, the trophy truck vibe, or is it the more rock crawly vibe that we're going for with the off-road stuff?
So it's definitely not a Raptor. It's not trying to be a trophy truck. But like that picture actually is at a place in France that used to be a Dakar rally stage where we did our high-speed off-road. So it's not a vehicle that's jumping and stuff like that. It can get airborne, but
There's a clip of it in your promo clip. There's a shot of it
Yeah.
jumping. So.
but the point is that it wants to have elements of high-speed off-road. It wants to be very capable in rock crawling, and it wants to be a really fun car to drive on a Stelvio Pass or something.
Well, you also took it
wants
to the
to be
Nürburgring,
everything.
which
Yeah.
is weird. There's video of it. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Kind of sliding on the Nürburgring, which is impressive.
So I think
What times did it run?
I think it's the first car that I know of, and I don't know every car's regimen, testing regimen and development regimen, but it's probably, I think, one of the few cars on the planet that has been subjected to a high-speed off-road durability cycle and a track durability cycle.
I think 911 Dakar may have, and I'm
have
sure
done
the
that.
off-road wasn't quite as extreme as what you've done because that
Yeah.
car does have some limitations, but they definitely did do rally stage and stuff like that, and then they also ran it at the Nürburgring.
Yeah.
It ran faster than a 996 GT3 at the
Yeah.
Nürburgring, which is pretty cool. And they had to do stuff, to get the tires and all that kind of stuff because I think that has a 160 mile an hour speed limiter on it.
Yeah.
As an engineer, you started before MagRide, before any of these, like, let's say, active adaptive shocks were existed. Do you like the advancement of technology because then it allows you to have more control over the vehicle and the wheels and all that? Or do you like things when they're a little bit simpler?
It depends on what I'm trying to do. There is a time for a very focused, very simple machine that does one thing and only one thing. We were just having this conversation earlier. And the more painful it is outside of that window, the more you like it.
Yeah.
And
We were talking about daily driving an F40 if we had the money. That's pretty much the context of that.
And there's a certain enjoyment that car guys get out of that. And but I think that technology, if you can go from a mountain pass to 80 miles an hour off road with the push of a button and have fun in both of those scenarios, that's
why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and that. So I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. Did this concept require you selling it to people in the same and struggling the same way that you had to sell the Raptor to Ford suits?
Yes, because a lot of people were thinking just make a Defender SVR, what normally people would call an SVR, which is basically an on-road version of the Defender. And so there was a lot of similarities within SVO, where we kind of had to say, no, this, we're gonna make a super Defender. We're not gonna make it into an on-road. We're gonna take the DNA of a Defender and expand it. So I mean, there was, but again, just like in Raptor days, once people start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, they quickly fall in love, and they're like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Will there be a two-door one? That would
Well,
be sick.
We got to see if anyone buys this thing.
I think somebody will buy it.
We'll see.
I think somebody will buy it. I mean, Land Rover people in general, the ones that I know, are not really inhibited by money, and they want the better ones. You know what I mean? They either want the super, super base on the Steelies.
The Series 1 with the patina and everything.
Or they want the other end,
Yeah.
where it's $300,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this has an M5 engine in it, or a variation on BMW's M5 engine.
A version which is now a mild hybrid version of that. So it's got a crank ISG, a little battery, 48 volt.
How many cars are there right now that are available with engines from two different manufacturers in them? Because there's the lower end Defender engines are in-house JLR engines, and then you've got a BMW as the top engine. That's got to be a pretty unique thing, right? Anyone else doing that?
Yeah, I mean, you go back to the McLaren days, and they're buying BMW engines.
Yeah. I guess Bentley for a little while longer, right? You got the W12, and then you got the 4-liter twin turbo, which is basically the Panamera engine.
Who does Aston get their
Mercedes.
V12 from?
Oh, their V12 is in-house, but I don't know if there's
but-
the same car available with both.
Oh, right. Good point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure the commenters will come up with someone else, but Bentley's the only one I can think of right now outside of you guys. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, a Vantage it had a V8 and the V12 once
The
upon a time.
Vantage, yeah, I guess the Vantage did the outgoing one. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, and I guess Bentayga also, because there's a 12 and an 8 of that. Yeah, interesting. Is it? I mean, at the factory level, is it challenging to rework this car that's been built around this one engine? We've got an engine from a different manufacturer we got to stick in there.
The heat management around Octa was quite a challenge because it was never designed to have a hot V engine.
Right.
And a hot V does things very differently than even like a supercharged V8. And where, you'll notice that there's no hood scoops on either a Sport SV Range Rover or this car because you want all of the engine air that's coming in through the cooling pack. You want it to go through the hot V, and you want it to go out basically the exhaust path down through the cats. Mm-hmm. And that's an airflow. You start putting vents in hoods, and you stall that flow.
Oh,
so
you don't want the heat going out the top.
Right.
You want it all going out the bottom.
You'll stall all the air going through the hot V.
Oh, right. Okay. And she'll actually do the opposite of what you want to do there. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because on day one, I'm like, Swiss cheese the hood. Put vents in. 15 hood, 15 vents.
Yeah.
And
the BMW
like, no.
guy's like, no. I guess that does make sense. Yeah. That your first time working with a hot V engine?
It is, yeah.
Interesting. How is that engine lighter than the JLR supercharged V8 too, or is it a wash?
It's almost a wash when you consider all the ancillaries and coolers, and it's not exactly apples to apples because there's oil coolers in one engine and not or bigger oil coolers in one engine, but yeah, it's at the end of the day it's pretty close.
And can you give us do we have performance measurements of this yet?
0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds.
Ooh, that's really fast for a Defender.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fast.
That's a European 0 to 60, not an American 0 to 60.
0 to 60 kilometers?
No, there's there's the whole concept of
the
rollout.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, wait a minute. No, when I said, no, you don't start the meter, the clock until rollout. And everyone in SVO is like, who does that? I'm like, all of America?
The same.
They're like,
the
no,
same
that's
people
cheating.
that measured gross horsepower in the fucking 60s.
So they're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Okay. Is there like a launch control program, or do you just like brake boost it?
It's a brake boost, and
Okay.
then that triggers the dynamic launch.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it looks awesome. I can't wait to drive it. I liked the what's the seat thing called again?
Body and soul seats.
Yeah. They're actually
Body and soul seats, bass.
Oh, BASS. Oh, that's cute. Nice. Yeah, very nice. It's really cool. I mean, it looks great in person. It's got, this photo doesn't show it, but it's got the 3 little orange lights across the grill, which carry over from the original Raptor. As soon as I saw that, I was like, Jamal brought it. Brought the orange lights. Here we are.
It's a law, man.
Yeah. Is that a law in the UK also, or is it only a law here? Okay.
They're forbidden in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? The UK cars will not have
In
that?
Europe, yep.
But here it's cars that are wider than X, right?
Yeah.
They require that, yeah.
And sadly now, Saudi Arabia has taken on European EU lighting regulations. So Middle East gets a Euro spec light package.
Oh, it's a dealer installed accessory.
Someone's going to make some money there.
Yeah. We'll throw it in the trunk for you. Like, don't worry about it. Let's go to the Patreon. We've got a few questions. If you want to ask our guests questions, catch the live show when it's not embargoed. By the way, this information, everything Jamal said about this car was embargoed. That's why the show's not live. Sorry. Or get an ad-free listening experience. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast is where you go. We will have questions just really focused for Jamal, this one. Okay.
I don't know how I did that.
Yeah. Great mate. As a young professional looking for work at an OEM, what skills and traits do you look for in applicants? How can I separate myself and stand out from others? Do you hire people personally?
Very, very rarely. Usually, I, let the teams hire who they want to hire, and so I don't personally. I rarely hire people, but especially in a little niche organization of a larger auto company, the thing that I really clue into is passion. and you can teach anything, you can coach anything, but like the passion and the drive to focus on the last 10% and not stop at 80%. That I think is a really important quality that I look at.
That's a good one. Adam Wilson, was the Contour SVT you, or was that before your time?
That was before my time.
Okay.
Great car though.
They were actually pretty good cars.
Yeah.
Well, he says, Adam says, do you consider the Contour SVT a success, and would you do anything differently for performance? I thought that was a really nice car, actually. Not that you did it, not that you built it, but.
Yeah, I mean, there was that car, it was relatively successful. I think you got to have, there was always more power to be had. So I probably, part of like that Contour, like Ford Fiesta STs, the beauty of those cars are that they're front wheel drive. Mm-hmm. And even Ford Focus RSs were front wheel drive only. So I don't think four wheel drive was the way to go. It did have a bump in power. That was a 2.5 liter V6 naturally aspirated. So horsepower was tough slogging in that solution.
Yeah. It needed the Taurus SHO engine.
Yeah.
The Yamaha motor.
Yeah.
Derek says, Jamal, as a manager, I've found that incentivizing good performance and rewarding good work has usually been successful. The more fun the reward, the better the work. How do you reward or incentivize your teams to do the best they can? Any fun or unique outings that stand out in your mind? Bribery. How do you bribe the teams?
Get them in the car.
Seat time.
Yeah.
Seat time.
And that's where you start to create the emotional bond with the machine.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And that's when once you get that emotional attachment, that's when like the performance, the commitment, everything just kind of goes to another level. It's not a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
It's not a presentation. It's literally, it's a work of art that you can get in and experience.
You know what was so crazy? I went to the Corvette factory in Bowling Green a few years ago, and there's a separate room where they build all the Z06 engines. It's like 6 people that build all of them, and they're made by hand.
Yeah.
And I asked one of them, like, got a lot of seat time in a Z06? And they said none. They'd never driven one. And I thought it was crazy that this big company cranking out all these cars with these very special engines built by these very small number of people, and they never got to experience what the engine was like to drive. I thought that was so sad.
Yeah. And that's where, like, in a big company, everyone's got their summer picnic, right? Potato sack races, blah, blah, blah. And what we would do, and we still, I do this even today at SVO, is get maybe the design and release engineers, get the program management, whatever, get everyone into the car, and that is the summer picnic, and get them attached to what we're doing, what we're making.
I think that's a good move. I agree with that move. Chris N., what are some surprising work culture differences between American and British car companies? Tea.
Yep,
lots of tea.
Don't mess with the tea.
Yeah, tea and roll out. That could be a good T-shirt.
Yeah. No, just I think the management style is different. Like, in America, we would be a lot more direct in our communication, where in England, I make an effort to be more thoughtful and metered with my feedback, and that goes over much better.
Cool. Tim says, should the Range Rover Sport SVR from last decade get more credit for being the first SUV with the drama of a sports car? It was ridiculous back then, but it paved the way for Urus, Cayenne Turbo GT, DBX, etc. The Range Rover SVR press launch, they had at Monticello in New York, and they had us do an off-road course, and then they had us drive up onto this sort of gantry where these two guys power washed the truck, and then I drove straight onto the track and ran 5 laps. And I thought that was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, the SVR really kind of, in many ways, started that premium luxury sport SUV segment. And it's SVO, prior to these new group of products, it was the best seller by far. Mm-hmm. So it's been super successful. Yeah, so that's what happens when you do stuff that other people aren't doing yet.
Yeah. This one is interesting. Aiden says, why do you think Ford has rebranded their high-performance Mustangs so many times throughout the years? There was Shelby, then SVT, then Shelby again, now Dark Horse. Why do they keep changing it? What do you think?
Oh.
Well, for you, it was always Shelby. But it did go from SVT Cobra to Shelby while you were there.
Yeah. So what I will say is badges and branding are the sport of kings. And there's a lot of inputs. There's many ways that you can skin the cat. There's pros and cons of every version. And this isn't just a Mustang thing. This is even generically on how do you brand your car? How do you sub-brand your car? How do you present it? That there are, again, you can do like an AMG model, which is, it's always an AMG. And that goes across anything. But even like if you go up a level, Daimler, they have Maybach. Mm-hmm. And that Maybach is their luxury brand. AMG is their performance brand. And G-Wagon is their kind of capability brand. So even they are using different brands, sub-brands, to accomplish different goals for different cars. And I think that's the case. But there was SVT, there was Shelby. There were a lot of Shelby enthusiasts out there. So it's always, the challenge is always, as management changes, there's different approaches to solve that.
Yeah, and in the Shelby, they had Shelby was Ford in the '60s, but then he went to Chrysler, so Ford couldn't use Shelby during that period of time because Shelby was over here doing Daytonas and Dakotas and Omnis.
Yeah.
So I think they were happy to get him back in 2007, but I think maybe after he passed away, I think maybe the draw of the name may have worn off a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was when I left, Shelby's were going strong.
Yeah. 350, great car. Greg's Garage, thoughts on GMC Typhoon and Cyclone? I love them like I love a Grand National. It's 100% an attitude car. They drive like hot trash. I mean, they drive like 80s pickup trucks. They are not good, but they look fantastic.
I mean, I love them personally.
Yeah.
They were like growing up.
Yeah.
That was the car you wanted.
Yeah, if you see one, you're gonna smile. If you
Yeah.
see, it's the best car
I know what that
I
is.
want someone else driving for me to see as it goes by.
Respect the innovation.
I did a story for Road and Track last year, which was Urus Performante versus Typhoon, and the photos were amazing.
There's decades of technology in between those two.
It was all about the photos, and they came out fucking great. Shout out to Dave Burnett. Nathan, just the answer to your question is just yes. I'm not going to make Jamal say it. Randy says, thoughts on the new Bugatti. Is this the last one?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. We talked about this a little bit in the car earlier. Randy says, thoughts on the new Bugatti Tourbillon. I love the name as a watch nerd. Excited to see them move in the direction of, wait, Zach, what happened? The direction of, grand complication watches. I mean, what people want at that very high end, whether it's a Gordon Murray car or a Koenigsegg or a Pagani or a Bugatti, is an analog, timeless experience that is not. It's not screens. It's not hybrids or EVs. It's fucking cylinders and no screens. And the analogy of a watch there, very, very smart from Bugatti's team. A watch is a timeless thing, especially a high complication watch.
And expensive.
And very expensive.
And beautiful.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's, to me, it is spot on with, it is literal, that gauge cluster is the anti-LCD screen.
Yeah. You
Come
can
to
see
life.
the fucking gear. The TAC has gears that you can see. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Where do you think that transition takes place? Because cars that are $100,000 to $200,000 seem to have as much screen as possible.
Yeah. Some cars,
But at a certain point, it drops off very sharply. And why do you think the customer for a $150,000 car wants all the screen? Or why do you think the manufacturer of that car thinks the customer wants all the screen, whereas at seven figures, they go, you know what, they want no screen.
screens, yeah.
Why do you think that shift happens?
Well, I mean, I think most manufacturers do, like, the bigger screens, the better. Like Range Rover and Defenders are an excellent example of we could afford to put screens all over that car, but we don't by design, and because to limit the screen space and keep a very balanced aesthetic there. So I think that some car companies, we certainly are limiting the screen size. Bigger is not always better in that case. And then that is taken to the extreme of, again, just that's something you can't find anywhere else. That is a USP, right? A unique.
We probably also, if you buy that car, you're driving it to have a very special experience.
Yeah.
And I think with cars like under $200,000, a lot of them are trying to give you a lot of experiences. Like it could be your daily, it's a luxury car, it has functionality. Like this doesn't need to really have nav. Like you can use your phone for the few hours you drive it or something like that. Like this gets the freedom to just be a special thing.
Right, and what you would need out of a Bugatti is for it to be very, very special when you're not going crazy fast. Because an electric hypercar is not special unless you're doing 8-second quarter miles on the street.
Yeah.
So to be able to, just like a tourbillon, like a tourbillon in a watch serves no function whatsoever in the modern world. The tourbillon was really when people had pocket watches and the watch sat in your pocket vertically, spent most of its time vertical. And over time, gravity would pull down on the spring and it would start to read time badly. On your wrist, because you're doing this all the time, a tourbillon serves no function. But watches that have them tend to be visible and you get to see shit moving.
Gears.
That's what it's about. It's literally about seeing the fucking springs do their
just
shit.
like a skeletonized watch.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But a tourbillon's like, more shit moves.
Yeah.
Shit moves around other shit. And so that's the point. The point is just to make gears that you can see going, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well done, Bugatti.
Well done, Bugatti. I can't wait to see this thing at the Quail, and I hope they have a fucking cluster.
The TAC and the Speedo all in one is
So
killer.
good.
That's awesome.
It's so
People are going to
cool.
just get so distracted by their gauges, though. They're not going to be looking out the windshield as they go 200.
Oh, what a great photo. Here's a photo of the EB110, the Veyron, the Chiron, and then this new tourbillon. And the lineage is...
They just need an Atlantic over on the left.
That would have been kick-ass. I drove for 200 feet from there to there, like a $5 million Atlantic that was being stored here a couple weeks ago. And I was like, yeah, I get this. This makes all the sense. Yeah, those old pre-war cars.
Full on Great Gatsby
1930,
vibes.
6 or something, 38, yeah. So super Gatsby. I can't wait to see this car at the Quail. You going to be at Pebble?
No.
No?
No.
They don't trot you out for the.
No, I'm
for
an
the heavy
engineer.
hitters?
I'm not allowed to talk to customers.
Might say some stupid shit. Well, look, thank you for joining us
Yeah,
today.
thanks.
Thank you for coming to the
been fun.
Canyons this morning. It was nice to have you. The Octa does look really cool. When I first saw it, I was like, I'm not sure I get this, but I definitely do now. Those seats are very cool. BASS. I forget what the acronym said already, but
Body and soul.
Body and soul seats.
sounds.
Body and soul. Yeah. And I can't wait to drive the Octa. Hopefully within a few months. or
You'll be
whatever.
surprised.
I mean, I think I'll be. I hope I'm surprised in any number of ways. One can be surprised, but I also think that based on the other cars that you've driven, I probably won't be surprised. It'll probably if I'm not surprised and it's great, that's fine too.
Yeah.
I expect it to be great based on what I learned about it last night. I think it'll probably be awesome.
That's the goal.
That wouldn't be a surprise, but that would be good. Thank you, Jamal. Thank you to our
Thanks,
patrons
guys.
for asking
Yeah.
such great questions. We will see you guys next time. Bye.